In 1982, Britain went to war with Argentina over a set of islands off the coast of Argentina known as the Falkland Islands, or as the Argentines call them, the Islas Malvinas. The war was short, lasting only 74 days, but it was intense with both sides fighting over some very rocky, remote islands in the freezing cold of the southern Atlantic. So, why did these two English-speaking countries go to war? Why did they fight so hard for these barren, frozen rocks, and who really won the war? The United Kingdom has been in control of the Falkland Islands since 1833, when the British took over the islands from the Spanish, who had occupied them since the 1600s. But Argentina also had a claim on the islands dating back to the 1800s, and they'd never given up on taking them back. In the early 1900s, things were mostly peaceful. The UK and Argentina worked together to manage the island's sheep population because that's what was important to both of them, the sheep, not the islands. But then in 1945, Argentina took a more aggressive stance and began to build up its military forces in anticipation of a future war over the islands. The British responded by doing the exact same thing. They built an air base on the islands and stationed fighter jets there. For decades, this rivalry sort of simmered. There were protests and diplomatic arguments, but nothing else. That was until 1976, when Argentina experienced a change in government. The new military junta that took over the country was led by a guy named Jorge Rafael Videla, who wanted to solve the whole Falkland Islands problem once and for all. He began by breaking off diplomatic relations with the UK in 1977, and then in 1981, he sent a warship to the islands to try to take them by force. The UK responded by sending a task force to stop him. But before anything could happen, another junta member convinced Videla that a full-blown war wasn't in the cards. They weren't prepared for that, so they just broke off diplomatic relations again and went back to the status quo. However, in early 1982, it seemed like war was inevitable. Argentina had built up a massive military and was clearly planning something big on April, while Mrs. Thatcher was on a state visit to the US. Argentina invaded and quickly captured three key areas of the islands: Goose Green Airfield, Port Stanley, and the nearby settlement of Darwin. 2,000 British subjects were stranded on the islands, and Britain's reputation as a world power was at stake, so Mrs. Thatcher had no choice but to act. She immediately dispatched a naval task force to recapture the islands. It was a huge undertaking, one of the largest since World War II, and the odds were stacked against them. Not only were the British ships and planes flying across the entire Atlantic Ocean to get to the Falklands, but Argentina had one of the largest navies in the world at the time, and most of it was stationed off the coast of the Falklands. Still, after 74 days of fighting, the British had retaken the islands and Argentina surrendered. For the UK, it was a resounding victory, especially because they had defeated a much larger, well-trained army with modern equipment. It was also a blow to Argentina's reputation as a regional powerhouse. The war had come at a cost to both sides. Nearly 700 British soldiers and 649 Argentine soldiers had been killed, not to mention the billions of dollars spent on military equipment and the economic damage done to both countries. After the war, the UK continued to hold on to the Falkland Islands, and today it remains a British overseas territory. As for Argentina, they never gave up their claim to the islands, and they still refer to them as the Islas Malvinas. Could there be another war over this tiny speck of rock in the middle of the ocean? Maybe, but if there is, hopefully it'll be a little less violent. We've got a lot more pressing issues to worry about. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, maybe watch another one.